How's it going, Blazers? This is David Blade Banter, working to bring you specifications you can relate to so you can have an educated decision on your purchases. This is going to be a different one. This is from Asheville Steel. This is a Paragon Warlock, which is kind of an interesting knife. If you haven't seen it before, this is going to be where it is. So this one is provided by Kyle J. Lanfear. He is on YouTube, Instagram, so also part of the Pass Around group. So he was able to send his own knife through the group. So I was able to check it out for this. And we'll see kind of how it is, but that's going to be how it's in the pocket. It is a pretty high carry, something to grab onto, but a very interesting knife nonetheless. So this is going to be more of an overview, more than a review, just because this isn't something that I'm going to be carrying. I liked it because it was a mechanism thing. I do like mechanisms, so this is where it was kind of a cool thing to be able to check it out, because I've seen it on the used market, and I considered picking it up from time to time, but I just never pulled the trigger. So and be able to handle it was something that was really neat. I jumped on it when it came available. So check out those things, and also if you do want to still get in on the Orion Solaris, that's still on Kickstarter as we're recording this video. That's going to be this knife here. So that's going to be my design. So this is going to be Orion Solaris as far as that. And then this is going to be how it compares to this knife, which is very interesting. So that's going to be the Paragon Warlock. So it is going to be a dagger blade for it, aluminum handles, and then it is going to be an S30V, at least for this variation. So it's going to be an interesting knife nonetheless. But as far as weight goes, it is a hefty knife. I've handled heavier, but I had to get more quarters. So basically for this one, it is going to be weighing 6.3 ounces. So basically that's going to be a total of 31 quarters and 1 penny. So that's going to be how much that weighs. So it's 6.3 ounces, very heavy, very large. It's still cool, but it is kind of a heavy knife there. So that's going to be a lot of quarters if you do have that weighing system. So you can get it in hand, kind of figure out how much that weighs, because numbers are numbers, but to get it in hand is kind of a different thing. Price-wise, $250. MSRP is about $390. So that's where it's going to be. Blade HQ is where I'm quoting that from. So you can head over there if you do love this knife. Otherwise, it is coming up on secondary markets from time to time for those that want to pick it up. This is going to be a tip, basically a tip-up orientation, right or left hand, so you can flip it around for the knife. It is opening only one way, so no matter which way you actually put the clip on, you can't actually, so in this orientation, it's not going to close. So you press on it, and it actually opens up, so I don't know if you can see that. So when you actually open it, close it the other way, it closes in on itself. So it does have a little track on there, so that's where you can actually not swing it the other way. So if you accidentally do have it in an orientation where it's going to be the wrong way, it's not going to open up on your hand, but it is something that is an interesting mechanism nonetheless. So it's basically two pieces of aluminum that are put together, and then there's pins, so when you actually press the button, the pins open up the knife so it actually can rotate. And then it has two kind of in the same orientation as this is. So basically the blade is kind of shaped like this, so it nests into this area. So that's one thing that's about this that's different than OTFs. OTFs have a lot of play, or not a lot of play, but it does have noticeable play, and that's kind of how those knives work, other than like a deadlock. But this one in hand, when we're actually holding it, has very little play. It has maybe a little bit up and down, but this is locked in super tight in hand. So that's one thing that for kind of a mechanism that's interesting, new, that's actually an interesting way of how it works. And so it's not going to be one that is sloppy or anything else, but it is a very cool mechanism nonetheless. So this one is a 3.8 inch blade, at least for the measurements on this one. Kind of an interesting sculpting also for it. So there's a sharp on both ends, so there's a dagger blade, but it has a kind of a sculpting for the blade too. So that's kind of an interesting thing. It is flat ground on both sides, and it's going from 3 millimeters down to that edge. So it's not really a great slicing tool. So if you have a good edge on it, you can do paper and very thin things, but cutting cardboard, yeah, it holds up a little bit. as far as that. So this is going to be also S30V. So about corrosion resistant side is going to be about 73 percentile, about edge retention maybe about 59 percentile. As far as comparisons, handle wise, it's going to be one that's 5.45 inches. So there's a lot of sculpting. There's a few different patterns that you can get for this as well, as far as what type of sculpting is on the handle. So that's kind of a cool thing for it. So as far as hand sizing for it, so you have adult women's hand. So I mean, this is going to be how it looks. You can print that out in the chart below. So that's going to be how that sits for a hand size. But I was able to really, I guess, the thing that drew me to it is it's just different. That's one thing that is kind of cool about it. So if you go over to, I saw on Luger Monger, he's like over 100,000 subscribers. I only knew about him just through searching for this knife. He actually took it apart so you can actually see all the inner workings as far as how this actually operates as well. So that's going to be an interesting thing for that. But it's interesting. It's a little bit clunky sometimes because like sometimes it doesn't want to close all the way. It has very mechanical sound to it as far as those click clack of all the pieces coming back together, but it's something that I'm glad I didn't buy it. So as much as people might really enjoy this, I haven't carried this. So again, this is more of an overview than a review because I'm not necessarily using this. I didn't take it out or anything because it's kind of illegal where I am. Yeah, I'll just freak people out if I took this out to cut a box. But this is something that I did really enjoy checking out. So for a buy, borrow, or void for this, I would definitely recommend to borrow it or at least try it. I probably wouldn't recommend to buy, but if anybody is already on that point of wanting to buy it, you already know what you like and you're going to pick up what you like. So it is a cool device. It is patented as well. So as far as how this works, so there's a patent number for you too. But this is just a cool knife. And so I'm really glad I was able to check it out. But other size comparisons for it, we're going to look at regular bug out. So you can see it kind of dwarfs that. And then you do have that rat 2 for that. And then of course I'm going to bring back in, which is going to be probably a knife that I'll have as a comparison all the time, just for self-serving reasons. But that's going to be the Orion Solaris as well. But that's all I have to say about that one today.